Welcome to Ivory Blush Roses, Crazy Quilting and Beyond. In today's episode, we're going to learn how to make a simple, inexpensive template for marking out a 6-inch block. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to make a simple template out of a piece of plain paper. You can also use a piece of chipboard, which is nothing more than the thin cardboard, say, on the side of a cereal box. That makes a great template, and it's a little more durable than a piece of typing paper. But if you need something quick, most of us have a piece of paper laying around that's easy to use. So you need a piece of paper, a ruler, a pencil, and a pair of scissors. And that's all we need for this. The first step is to center our template in the piece of paper. So for this piece of paper, I'm going to start, I actually have two here because I didn't want the mat to show through, but normally I would just be using one. I'm simply going to mark the center of my page. So I have my ruler lined up at one edge and the other. It's 8.5 inches, so half of that is 4 1/4. I'm going to mark a couple of spots. Generally, I find when you're doing measurements like this, you're better off marking it in 3 locations. Then you line your ruler up with all 3 marks, and if one of them is off a little bit, it's not a big deal. You know you're still pretty straight. See, one here is off just a little bit. And the 2 pieces of paper is a little harder. And then I'm going to do the same thing going the other direction so that I can get my block pretty square. So this piece of paper is 8.5 by 11, so half of 11 is 5.5. So there's a mark at 5.5. Here's another mark at 5.5. We'll do that third one. And you're trying when you do these to keep your ruler as straight to the paper as you can. That it's going to make a difference as you go. And then another line there. So now I have my center point, and I know since I want a 6-inch square, I'm going to put my pencil here. I'm going to hold my ruler to that against that line. I need to go 3 inches on either side of that, and I'm marking that line. Okay, and then I can do that elsewhere along here as well. Again, I want to have my 3 marks so that I will be as straight as I possibly can go. So now I have 2 lines. I should be parallel to one another. I'm going to hold my ruler down, draw my lines all the way across using those marks. Now the one thing I realized I didn't do on that one is I didn't carefully match where the width of my pencil led, and so my mark came to the inside. So this one I'm going to put it on the mark, line it up so it all looks even, and go down, and now my pencil line should come out right in the middle of my mark. So I'm actually going to remark this one because I really want a 6-inch square, not a 5 15/16 inch square. I really want it to be nice and even and square. So there we are. And now I'm going to do the same thing on these parallel lines. On each one of them I'm going to put my mark at the center, and I'm going to go out 6 inches. And for accuracy of marking, it helps if you hold your pencil straight up and down and then make either just a short dash out or just a twist of that pencil on that line. So this is going to get me to pretty square right off the bat. And I won't have to hopefully do a whole lot of adjusting. So now I have those lines. I'm going to again match up, try and stay pretty well in line with one another, draw my line across, and I'm going to do the same thing down at this end. Okay, it looks square, it looks like it's pretty good, But how do we really know? Well, the only way is to measure the diagonal from one corner to the opposite, and then opposite corners. And if those two measurements match, then we know we're in the square. So I'm going to line up my ruler, and I have just 8.5 inches there. So we're going to do the same thing here, and we're 8.5 inches. We are good to go. So the next step is I want to trim out this inside square. I don't need it anymore. I want to see the frame around it. So I'm just going to put a clip in. I'm going to clip in towards the corner. And I should note that I'm using scissors that I have marked. They're for wired ribbon and other things. They're not my good fabric scissors. My good fabric scissors don't have anything written on them. And so I know a lot of people will keep different scissors with different color handles, whatever trick. But paper can dull scissors, and it makes it harder to cut your fabric. So the other thing I find when I'm doing this is I trim just a little corner here. I want to trim off just a little bit. I want to know that I have room for my scissors to go. Once that's there, then it's easier to trim into that corner because we're trimming along a flat edge. And now I have a square. I can go ahead and trim through the rest of my line. Again, I'm preserving the frame. That's the part that I want to keep, not the inside square. The inside square really doesn't matter a whole lot. And if I need, I can do that little square again, just so I've got a little bit more flexibility. And obviously this technique is something you can do any size square with this. You just need a big enough piece of paper or cardboard to make that happen. And once we're trimmed out, I find it easier to trim that little bit off first before I try and go down. And see, I didn't quite get it, so we'll trim it a little closer. Now I can keep going. There we go. So now I have a frame. This side has my pencil markings. If I don't want to see those, I can turn it over. I've got a little bobble here. I do want to trim that up just for my own visual happiness. There we go. I have a nice frame. It's all the way around it. Now I can take my block that I've pieced, and normally I would be doing this before I did my marking, but I can see where do I want to put that square. I don't want gaps showing here, so the backing fabric, so I know I have to be over that. So I know I'm going to be in line there, but I could move it up or down. If I go up too much, I lose this bird. I kind of like to keep those birds. So there, that way I can see the head nice. I can see the head of this one, and I can still see this one. So there we are. I think we're right in that area. And there, see, it's a nice frame. You can easily see your block. Now you could mark along that block very easily and have your marking. So less than 10 minutes and you've made a template and can now easily mark your block. Make it out of cardboard. You can use it again and again and again. Now that we've looked at a frame so that we can see our block more clearly, it's helpful to have a block template that we can actually mark around the outside of. So in this, we're going to simply take a look at how to take a piece of chipboard, which is nothing more than a piece of cardboard. I've just used a piece of packaging from a package of cat food. I'm doing a 6-inch square, so I don't need a great big piece, and I'm just trimming it down so that it's easier to manipulate. So now we're going to mark it in much the same way that we did for the frame. It's really the same process used all over again. But there we have. And I usually like to mark on it so it's 6-inch square. And that way I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what it is that I'm looking for. So now I have my block. I had already stitched this by the time I decided to film this tutorial. But I want to show you the difference between the two templates. So with the paper, we have a frame, so we can use it to choose where we want to mark our block. You can see how that block changes. And so it would help me decide, do I need to add another piece of fabric somewhere, or am I happy with where I'm at and can I use that? It's hard to mark on this because if I mark on this 6-inch window, I'm going to be marking on the inside, and that's going to be marking into my stitching area and into what's going to show. And I really want my marks to be outside of that area. So that's where I'm going to take my 6-inch square and I'm going to mark that then around here. But it's hard to mark your block here because you can't see what's going on. So I find if you don't have one of the transparent quilting rulers, having the combined tools of the frame and the square can make a big difference, and pretty inexpensively, using found cardboard, a piece of typing paper, it makes it really easy to see. So a ruler, a pair of scissors, and a pencil, and we've created a couple of tools that we can use over and over and over again. I hope you found this simple technique for creating a template to be helpful. Remember that you can use the same technique to make templates of almost any other size. Thank you for watching today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, click on the bell to be notified of new episodes, give me a thumbs up down below, and I'd love to hear your comments or questions in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. Happy stitching. Let's go create something beautiful.